Nathan McKinnon's a Stanley Cup champion. Is Kevin Durant going to the Raptors? And there was something else going on. Oh, right. The St. John Sea Dogs won their second ever Memorial Cup. All that and more at Sports QuaranTV. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson, Gerry Green, still in my temporary setup. We're waiting on the arrival. I'm working on a new studio right now, so I can't wait to be in there. Gerry, it's been a couple weeks since we've seen each other's face, man. I hope things have been well. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I've been in the sun, Chris, doing lawn work, building stuff, playing some golf. Summer's been good so far. June was fun, but yes, we did very little in June. There was so much going on in June. Life gets in the way. We got lots to talk about.
Let's start right off the hop, of course. I joked about it in the intro, of course. The Memorial Cup just finalized and finished up. And the host, St. John Sea Dogs, Trevor Georgie, built this team to win, although they were knocked out in the first round. Are you shocked at the outcome? How surprised were you with the entire tournament? I mean, to me, in my opinion, were you shocked that Edmonton only won one game? I mean, I want to collect your thoughts on this thing, man. There was a lot happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of so-called experts who think and I think put the WHL and OHL up on pedestals much higher than the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League and don't appreciate what happens out here in Quebec and in the Maritimes. And I've seen that firsthand, Chris, so it really bothers me. Edmonton was ranked number one, which was fine during the regular season. And those things are voted on by scouts who see these teams, and it's not any so-called experts, I guess. So it's really not a terribly sophisticated draft or rankings, but a little bit surprised. It is quite a grind, as you can tell, for anybody to make it through their championship and then go and play away, far away, in Edmonton's case, Hamilton as well. Hamilton just finished a few days before they had to go to the Memorial Cup, own fault of their own, to go 7 games in the OHL final and the way the OHL final was scheduled. So no excuses about how they're feeling physically. Here you had the St. John Sea Dogs had to sit 38 days, which can be trying. And I talked to this about this the other day, Chris. These athletes now lately, in the St. John team specifically, or any of the kids in that age group, have been used to playing 30 days, off 30 days,
of course,
45 days, off 30 days. It's been going on since, March of 2020. So they're kind of used to that. But where Gardner McDougall came in and did what he did, Chris, was to keep them mentally where they needed to be. And bringing in former Sea Dogs that played with Gardner at UNB to keep them focused that way. It was a mental aspect of the game. And perhaps Gardner finally got this team to play some defense.
I'm really glad you segued that, because that's where I want to start. And that is, there was a lot of speculation surrounding the coaching change. Of course, Gordy Dwyer gets let go after the first round. They get upset in a best of 5 series, which I'm not going to get into because we've talked about how much we hate best of 5s. But that being said, everything that was going around on social media, I got yelled at, and I got into a bit of a Twitter battle about a guy talking about how it'd be a complete joke if the St. John Sea Dogs were to win the Memorial Cup because they've had 38 days rest. And I said, anyways, all that to say, not just take the rest out of it. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're bringing in a new regime. You're bringing in a new coaching change for a single tournament. You've got 38 days, not even, because I think they allowed the players to go be with their families for a week after the loss. So we'll say 30 days, 1 month. Gardner came on in, had this blue line picked up and playing the defensive hockey that I honestly did think that Gordy Dwyer was going to do when the season started. I was pumped to see when Gordy came on in, because at the same time, I talked about it earlier in the season, and I'll eat crow for that. I was expecting to see a better defensive squad. However, as we're going to talk about a little later on when it comes to the Colorado Avalanche, all their defensemen, it's the Cale Makar type way now. They're playing defense, but they're so fast. They're offensively talented. We've talked about how good St. John's D has been for a long time offensively, but Gardner did get the job done that way. All the forwards are firing on all cylinders. I thought Ryan Francis had a great tournament. Of course, William Dufour, the MVP of the regular season, MVP of the Memorial Cup. What a great acquisition it was for him. And hey, Nick Hercheby is at the second best, save percentage or goals against in the entire Memorial Cup tournament. And there was a lot of question marks surrounding him because he was the third 20-year-old goaltender that Trevor Georgie had acquired this season. But it looks like it all paid off, my friend. It all paid off.
Yeah, I was curious to see McDougall's faith in Hertebees, who he, I think, McDougall knows about the mentality of a champion. And Hurtubise was a champion in Victoriaville last year, didn't get to play for the Memorial Cup. On the other side of it, you saw Thomas Couture. No offense to Thomas Couture. I thought he played very well for the St. John Sea Dogs in the regular season, but Dwyer goes with him in the playoffs rather than Hurtubise. And whether or not that was a factor or not, I just thought it was curious how McDougall certainly focused on Hurtubise and his pedigree, if you would, coming in because of the fact he'd already been a champion. But I like the way he put responsibility on some teams. I like now to call them the Maritime line, which was Riley Bezo, who was I believe a 10th or 14th round pick, a very late pick for the St. John Sea Dogs, local boy from Rothesay. I'm going to talk about Peter Reynolds from Fredericton. Cam McDonald from Hammond Plains, Nova Scotia. The Maritime line, if you watch them play, that's the type of third line you want to have. And they were a catalyst to the success of the Sea Dogs throughout the tournament.
And you're absolutely right. Before we touch on that, I just want to go back to goaltending for 2 seconds. And don't forget, they acquired Thomas Couture because Noah Patnode got injured. And then he was cleared to play as well in the Memorial Cup. Again, didn't get to play. So that was another question mark coming in. But yes, going back to that third and fourth line that St. John had, their fourth line played big minutes in this Memorial Cup tournament. So it showed exactly, you're right, the confidence that Gardner McDougall had coming in. Now, I was happy for Gardner when this tournament was over. You know, the most winning pedigree coach in, AUS hockey, or I think it's the AUS now, right? It used to be CIS. But what I thought was really interesting was when it was over, of course, he's heading back there and he was all smiles. I'm just like, is there anything this guy can't do? But I do have a fun question for you. I noticed he is a 7-time champion, yet only 2-time coach of the year in the AUS. How does that even happen? That makes no sense. But either way, you have to tip my cap to our good friend Trevor Georgie and the St. John Sea Dogs and what they've done and what they've accomplished. And again, hey, he went out and got married after this tournament was over too. So hey, congratulations to him on both wins there. And it was a great tournament. Not to take away from Hamilton, not to take away from Shawinigan either. Shawinigan had a good tournament. It was a tough loss in the semis for them to get there. They surprised. They've come off. They won their very first President's Cup in league history. Kudos to them. Like I said, to me, it was the Oil Kings that shocked me. Now, again, they got bit by the injury bug just a little bit. But overall, it was tough to see one of their top guys down. But overall, great Memorial Cup. First one we've seen in 3 years. We're lucky that it was right here in our own backyard. Yeah,
St. John, the city of St. John did a great job. That container area that they had where all the things took place down on the waterfront, I thought was pretty cool. I thought the coverage was good. I thought everything to do with the building and the atmosphere and the noise and everything that came out of it was good. I didn't hear a bad thing about the whole event. And it goes to show again that the Maritimes is underrated in the way they can run events, and I think it surprised the nation on how well things went in St. John.
What I was a little surprised about, I agree with you, is that the first couple of games, they weren't sellout crowds at first. And I was a little concerned going into that. But then, of course, once the third and then the final game come on in, it was a packed arena at TD Station. I love seeing the city of St. John unite. I mean, we got to see it here in 2006 with the Moncton Wildcats. So for us, you get to see exactly the buzz that's around the city. And, good on St. John. And they did a heck of a job making sure this tournament went off without a hitch. And, to see the way the community came together and supported. You talked about that container city. What a creative idea. And every night there was a new concert downtown. I thought it was great. And, of course, they had great weather for it, too. But either way, another successful Memorial Cup tournament in the books. But as soon as that Memorial Cup tournament ends, what happens next? The Qfghl Draft took place.
I love it. Roll right into it. Yes.
Why not, right? Why not? You've got a couple notes from the draft, Jerry. What are your thoughts there? How do you think the Maritime guys think?
Well, it's very interesting. Cape Breton, and I like the fact that Cape Breton, who finished 18th overall, Chicoutimi finished 14th overall, Baie-Comeau finished 16th overall. These are the guys that are getting all the picks in the first round, and that's the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the rich get richer. It's those teams that didn't have the great regular season are going to get the picks. And it's interesting. There's 18 picks. There's 18 teams in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. So there's 18 first-round picks, of which 10 went to 3 teams. Cape Breton had 3 picks. Chicoutimi had 4. Baie-Comeau had 2. And Rimouski had 3. So it was not very many participants in the first round, which is the high-profile round. Halifax did get a pick at 17, or 7 rather. They took a defenseman. Moncton got a pick. They worked their way up and got a pick at number 14. They gave away all those first-round picks, as you can recall, back in 2020 when they were building their Memorial Cup team. They got a defenseman at 14, and also got to tip our hat to the number 5 pick to Rimouski, defenseman Spencer Gill of the TELUS Cup champion Moncton Flyers. So we tip our hat to him.
Absolutely. And I love the way the draft just kicked on in right away. And I agree with you. It's a lot of fun. Nobody gets to rest at this point. But another, good mention for the Moncton Wildcats is, a good storyline. Their former goaltending coach, now Tampa Bay Lightning goaltending coach, France Bergevin-Jean, his son was chosen by the Moncton Wildcats in the draft as well. It was a very proud moment for him. Loved seeing that. I thought it was great. Tip our caps to him. But overall, I just love the draft experience. I love everything that goes on about it.
Well, I think Chris, we didn't really even mention who the first overall pick was. And we don't know the background of some of these players. And I want you to touch on another point here in a minute. Cape Breton took the number 1 pick. It was Thomas Lavoie, who is a defenseman. And the number 2 pick was a goaltender selected by Victoriaville. And the other news, Chris, is I don't think they're ever going to go back to doing this in person. Is that true?
So that's what the rumors are saying right now. I don't think it's made official yet, but it's just a matter of time. I mean, the other 2 leagues in the CHL have done it all virtual the whole time, which is too bad because it was a great event, a very expensive event because they did it just like the National Hockey League draft. The Q did an amazing job at putting this whole thing together for the players, their families, the media to come on in. It literally looked just like the NHL draft, but overall, it was shocking to me to see exactly how it's all going to go down. But overall, hey, it is what it is, and it looks like it's going to go virtual. All right, let's move on, Jerry. We got to talk about the NHL. The Colorado Avalanche. Nathan MacKinnon is a Stanley Cup champion. One of my favorite lines afterwards during the press conference was they asked if Sid was going to come to his parade and his celebration, and his response was, "I was the drunkest guy at 2 of his. He better be at mine."
Yeah, he did say that. I like that about him. So there's no doubt Sidney Crosby's is going to show up at his Cole Harbor gathering when he has his day with the Cup. That'll be fun. But the Stanley Cup was a lot of fun. Tampa Bay is and will be, I don't think, discussion about whether or not they'll be the same team next year. Yeah, they're going to be a little bit older. They might lose Palat, but they find ways to fill in.
They've already moved Ryan McDonough.
Chris, I hadn't looked close enough at the blue line in Colorado. It really doesn't matter who's in net. Kemper did an adequate job.
Yep.
That blue line is outrageous. And when they added Manson, I thought, who's this Manson guy? Big deal. So they added him. Everybody's making a big deal of him coming over from San Jose or Anaheim, wherever he came from. But they have a rotation of 6 defensemen there, 3 two-man pairings that is unbeatable, like unbelievable gall, unbelievable nerve, unbelievable challenging every time they're on the ice, both defensively and offensively. I was totally impressed.
Well, it helps when one of those defensemen is Norris Trophy winning Cale Makar. I mean, the guy's an absolute freak. But good for him. I mean, and good for everybody. And how young are they now? And what they're going to do, the acquisitions they made along the deadline. They went ahead and they picked up, Arturi Lehkonen at the deadline, Nazem Kadri, who, despite everything people love or hate about the guy, I mean, he was a very vital asset to this team. I know he got hurt later in the postseason, but overall, had a great year, had a career year. He's probably about to get paid on the open market. But then you look at guys like Gabriel Landeskog and, of course, Nathan MacKinnon, who was a star. But who else is going to get paid? Nichushkin. I mean, as soon as you saw what he did, he was an absolute star in the postseason. And you're right, they didn't need star goaltending; they needed adequate goaltending. But if you look at that blue line too, and don't forget, you look at a guy like Sam Girard who didn't play, and they still had more guys out there who were capable of doing it. And yeah, I agree with you, Jerry. I think Colorado's blue line now, they're so young. I think they're going to be the new Tampa Bay Lightning.
Unfortunately, Chris, here in the East, we don't get to see enough of Colorado. And that Nichushkin, he is huge. He's 6
he's a big kid.
Some odd pounds. Never ever knew that until you started watching them in a 7-game series. And they were a worthy champion. They knocked off, as I always say, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And they beat the man. Tampa gave it everything they could. I thought it was a terrific and a fantastic a final series. And overall, I thought the playoffs were great. I love the way the Rangers came to life and challenged the Tampa Bay as well. And that's an up-and-coming team too. Overall, there was lots of drama in the NHL playoffs this season.
Right. So we don't have a lot of time left before it's time to move on, but we got to talk quickly about it because the Montreal Canadiens are in Montreal. They've got the first overall pick. The draft is, as we're shooting this show now, as we're recording it, it's tomorrow night. But as you see it, it's tonight. Will they take Shane Wright first overall? Or are they going to go with Slafkovsky? Or are they going to go off the board and go with Cooling? It's an exciting time for a Habs fan.
We're not going to speculate, of course. It's just going to be, and again,
it better be Shane Wright. I'll speculate. It better be Shane Wright.
They're back in person, and it's in Montreal. The hub of the hockey world is Montreal. I don't care what you say about Toronto. Toronto's the media capital, maybe, but Montreal is the heart and soul of hockey in Canada, and their passion for hockey. And to have the draft in Montreal, and the fact that they have the first overall pick, well, they have more than one pick in the first round, don't they, Chris? But to have the first overall pick will be a spectacle. The ratings will be terrific.
Yeah, they have 2 picks in the first round. They have 14 picks in the draft total, and there's a lot of rumors that Hughes is looking to move up, maybe into acquire another one of those top 5 picks. You never know how it's all going to play out, but all I know is that it's going to be exciting. As a Habs fan, I'm going to sit down with my comfy pants on in front of the TV, maybe pour myself a soda or two, and just watch and see what happens. And hey, at the end of the day, I am hoping they take the center. You got to take who's best for you. I would love to see them take Shane Wright, the Canadian, send him back to Kingston. I'm hoping, and then send him back to Kingston for a year.
But it's so different. It's so different. One other thing, Chris, is so different from, they just had the NBA draft recently. NBA drafted players sometimes just go directly and join the team. In the NHL and baseball, it's a little bit different. That's the only point I wanted to make. I was watching the NBA draft the other day, and bang, those players are going to go instantly to those teams and make an impact.
Very few. You're right. In the NHL draft, usually the top 3 guys will prospectively join their teams sometimes, but those are your odds. But other than that, I'm hoping for his own development because he was out injured for a bit. But either way, I'll do this next week once they draft him. All right, let's move on to the NBA. I want to talk about a review of the NBA Finals, Jerry. I mean, it was a good one. The Celtics came up short. However, what was your thought on it? Were you surprised that the Warriors came back and did what they did?
Yes, I thought the Warriors. I was shocked that Phoenix went down the way they did because I thought that would be a great Western final. But I just thought the offense of the Golden State Warriors, and having been there, that sort of attitude, I think was the difference maker. The Celtics were a tough defensive team that at times had sporadic with their offense. But I thought Golden State was going to win it and worthy of the championship. And what is it, 4 for them in the last 8 years? They've built quite a foundation there and an ongoing foundation there in San Francisco Golden State.
So to me, there's 2 notable storylines here, and that is one, of course, Canadian star Andrew Wiggins made his first finals performance, and it was great, was fantastic. That is exactly how every team who's drafted him from day one has wanted to see him play. So good for him to being a star. 2, a couple of years back, Golden State went from top of the world to lottery team to top of the world, right? Mm-hmm. And that just goes to show, I mean, Kerr brought his team back again. It helped. Klay Thompson came back. Wasn't the same guy we were used to seeing. However, big addition to your lineup. Steph Curry did exactly what he had to do, and it was no surprise there. But either way, the Celtics are going to be fun to watch for years to come. But overall, I think it was just the Warriors' time. I got to pick your brain on this because it's the number 1 topic floating around all Canadian media right now, and that is, of course, Kevin Durant. Yeah. Rumors are speculating and rumors are flying. Odds makers are coming in that the Raptors are now the second favorite potential landing spot for Kevin Durant. If you're as a Raptors fan, and you are, would you trade Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant at a shot to win another title? Well,
as you know, and I know, there'll be more than Scotty Barnes going away. But it was a shocking when DeRozan got traded for a guy I didn't know about. I know who Durant is. I didn't know who Leonard was at the time.
Interesting. Okay.
So I really didn't know his. Yes, he had won a championship in San Antonio, but didn't know what his contribution was. And
won an MVP.
Wasn't familiar. Yeah, I know, but I really wasn't.
That's fair.
With that, I just if he does, great. But the thing I just hate here is that how a player dictates. He signed a contract in Brooklyn. They've got fans in Brooklyn that have Kyrie might be gone and Durant's gone, and they traded Harden away. And who do they got left but that guy from Philadelphia? What's his name?
Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons.
What a great thing to have left. But I don't like in the NBA, and it happens all the time, these players dictate where they want to go. I love Scotty Barnes, but to have Kevin Durant, he's the best player in basketball right now. To have him on your team and try to take another run, depends on who you're going to keep around. If maybe you have to trade more than Scotty Barnes, might be some other pieces.
I think it's going to be Scotty, possibly.
And the experts say it's possible he could.
It was his favorite team growing up. You never know, but I agree with you. It would be fun for Raptors fans to see him. I just don't know if Kevin Durant single-handedly gets the job done. But hey, you know what? That's why it's our job to speculate. But overall, it's an exciting time for Raptors fans to be excited. I do want to move on. I want to talk about Major League Baseball. We've got 2 minutes before it's time for the wrap. We're going to go into it now. What's wrong with the Jays, Jerry? Why are they sliding down? What's happening?
It's hard to put your finger on it, Chris. I have to be with the starting pitching, which has been now Gosman's now down with a foot, and we don't know when he's going to be back. But Manoah has been doing his job. It's the inconsistency from anybody else around that has been the problem. A little bit, anyways. I mean, it's a tough division. They've played some tough opponents. If you look at the standings, both Boston, Tampa Bay, and Toronto, if they continue playing at the percentages that they're playing, they're going to be 3 wildcard teams, and they're going to make the postseason. I would hope. Okay. Here you have the Yankees with a great big lead in the National League, the American League East. And you have Houston as your top 2 teams in the American League. And then you've got the Dodgers and the Mets who are over 50 wins in the National League. But my biggest surprise and my biggest enjoyment to watch is Alejandro Kirk play for the Toronto Blue Jays. 23 years old, 4x4, hitting the ball all over the park. And it's been a pleasure watching him, and what a surprise it's been.
So I want to ask you, you brought up Kirk, and that's an interesting thing for me to discuss right now. And that is, right now, if you were to pick a first half MVP for the Toronto Blue Jays, are you going with Manoah? Are you going with Kirk? Because it's unorthodox, but I'm curious. I want to get your thought.
No, it is unorthodox. I have to go with Manoah. Manoah has had some dominant performances, and he has been a stabilizer. Gosman was too, but Manoah has been very consistent in his starts. I would go with him as the first half MVP for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I would honestly have to agree with you. I think, you know what, I think that's where you're going to have to tweak a little bit as well, but you're going to have to ride the arm of Manoah, and you know, Kirk's going to have to continue this hot streak. I'm not sure if he can, but the rest of the bats have to come alive as well. I don't think it's time to panic for Jays fans yet. There's still half a season to go, but either way, it's been fun, that's for sure. Well, Jerry, you know what time it is? It's time for the wrap. We're going to start off with, I hear you've got a bad taste in your mouth about a few things this week.
Bad taste is correct, Chris. A couple of things that happened the last couple of weeks that just kind of got under my skin, grinded my gears, if you will. Nazem Kadri, not the most likable guy when he was at Toronto. Congratulations on winning the Stanley Cup. During the parade, wearing the T-shirt that said, "Too many men on the ice," and kind of rubbing it in aboard the Tampa Bay, having a dispute about a game-winning goal that they thought too many men on the ice. I thought that was a little tacky, wasn't necessary. Everybody else in the parade was wearing their jersey, so bad taste in my mouth for Nazem Kadri. Bad taste in my mouth. Congratulations, all, of course, for the Sea Dogs, and tremendous job done by the city. But for the PA announcer with 1:04 left to say the parade starts tomorrow and where it is and what time it starts, I put a bad taste in my mouth. I've been a PA announcer for many years, and if someone handed that to me, I would say no. I will say that at the end of the game, not with 1:04 left to go. Chris, soccer's in the news, and Ronaldo's in the middle of it. What's going on?
Well, there has been a lot of speculation, Jerry. It's crazy. Of course, the Portuguese superstar has formally requested a transfer out of Manchester United. Right now, the rumors floating around is it could be Chelsea, but it's still up in the air right now. Right now, it's just a lot of, noise, if you will. But there are other 2 teams that could be involved. Bayern Munich's one of them. Paris Saint-Germain's one of them. I know a lot of people are going to keep their eyes. I mean, look, Ronaldo's 37 years old now. So whatever he decides to do, but at the end of the day, this is his call. It's always Ronaldo versus Messi. So anytime either one of these guys are in the media, of course it's going to generate noise. But as of right now, still plays for Manchester United. But we'll see. We're going to keep our ears to the ground here and see if we can't find out. All right, it's time for a update on New Brunswick Senior Baseball. Jerry, what's on?
As always, my finger on the pulse of the Brunswick Senior Baseball League. And the one word that comes to mind, Chris, is parity. There is one game separating the 5 teams in the standings. St. John's on top, the Alpines 7-6. Follow along with me. Charlottetown 6-6. Fredericton's 5-5. Moncton 7-7, and Chatham's in the cellar at 6-7. So there's one game separating the 5 teams. It's been a lot of fun all season long. You never know who's going to win on any particular night. My game of the week this week is in Moncton on Sunday night. The Fredericton Royals are in to take on the Mudcats, 7 p.m. at the ball field. Hope to see you there. Chris, what's going on with Baker Mayfield? Is he with a new team or what?
The drama is finally over. Baker Mayfield has joined the Carolina Panthers. Although what's really interesting to see the situation in Carolina, and I don't blame Carolina for going to get Baker Mayfield. A lot of people are on this. They don't know if they love him. They don't know if they hate him. I'm actually a Baker fan. I know that, there was a lot of rumors back before the Colts took Matt Ryan that Baker was going there because it was a good fit. But overall, he is in Carolina. But what's interesting to note is that everyone says, well, who's going to be the starting QB? Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Is it going to be Sam Darnold? Plus, don't forget, they drafted Matt Carroll in the 3rd round this year. But what's interesting to look at is they've traded away a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th round draft picks to ensure all these quarterbacks are in Carolina. But hey, good for Baker Mayfield. It was a tough situation for him in Cleveland. I'm glad the drama's over. I hope he gets a fresh start in Carolina. And hey, you never know. I think he's going to show everybody. He's got a little chip on his shoulder, so I think it's going to work out very well in his favor. Give me a CFL check-in, Jerry. How's the CFL running?
I love football, and it's the total opposite of the Brunswick Senior Baseball League. All the power is in the West. You got 3 undefeated teams in the West, and Winnipeg at 4-0, BC at 3-0, and Calgary at 3-0. Meanwhile, in the East, they're struggling to get 1 win. Toronto sits on top of the standings in the East with a 1-3 record. But the thing that jumped out to me this week, Chris, is number one, the CFL had a game on July 4th. That was Monday night in Toronto. And if you happen to watch it, of which I love the Bombers and I love CFL football, there was nobody in the stands. And interestingly enough, the league didn't release the attendance for that particular game. It has been tough for attendance in the East. Meanwhile, in the West, you get your 23 to 25,000 at every game. Chris, how would you like to be on Zion Williamson? How would you like to be him for a day? He has it pretty good, eh?
Oh, not bad at all for a guy who's only played 85 total games in the NBA. Just signed a max rookie deal, 5 years, $231 million.
Oh,
I cannot believe the Pelicans decided to come and play. I mean, at the end of the day, it was kind of a caught between a rock and a hard place. I was reading a great article today about Zion Williamson, and he said himself, he says, I will not let the city down. Yeah. Well, I would hope not for $231 million. Are you kidding me? Either way, good on Zion Williamson getting paid. We'll see exactly how it plays out. Well, Jerry, it's been another great episode. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next Thursday.